Horatio Spafford came to Chicago in 1856 to practice law. He was a devoutly religious man and soon formed associations with other evangelical Christians, Reverend Moody and others. In those early days in Chicago, Spafford wasn't just a Sunday go-to-meeting kind of Christian. He put his Christianity into practice. Notwithstanding he was a lawyer, he taught Sunday school classes and then visited the sick, those in prison, ministering wherever he could. In 1857, he first met Anna Larsson. She was a somewhat recent convert from Norway. Horatio was taken with her beauty and her poise and her self-confidence. However, Anna was only 15 years old. So Spafford enabled her, paid her way through an elite women's academy to finish her education. When she graduated at the age of 18, they got married. During the Civil War, Anna and Horatio volunteered and served the cause wherever they could. Horatio continued as a lawyer, senior partner in their firm, and as a professor of law. In 1870, the Odyssey of Job began. Their 4-year-old son, Horatio Jr., died of scarlet fever. Then a year later, in October 1871, the Great Chicago Fire broke out and reduced Chicago to ashes, taking with it most of Horatio's fortune invested in real estate. Well, notwithstanding their loss during the fire and rebuilding, the Spaffords worked to assist others stricken by the fire. In 1873, the family decided to take a holiday and go to Europe. But right at the last minute, Horatio was detained with public business. It had to do with zoning the city and rebuilding after the fire. And so he sent his wife and his 4 remaining children on ahead. It was Anna, their 11-year-old daughter, also named Anna, 9-year-old Margaret, otherwise known as Maggie, 5-year-old Elizabeth, and 2-year-old Tanetta. November 22nd, 1873, their ship, I don't speak French, so pardon me, their ship, the Ville du Havre, was rammed midships in the middle of the ocean by an iron vessel, the Lockhart. The Ville du Havre sank in 12 minutes. It would be the worst maritime disaster, I am told, of the late 19th century until the sinking of the Titanic. 226 people lost their lives. Among them, the 4 daughters of Horatio and Anna Spafford. Anna would later recall that at the moment of the collision, they ran out on deck. She held Tanetta in her arms and gathered her children close and looked for a chance to escape. She attempted to comfort and assist the other passengers, but when the ship tipped onto its bow and started to go under, the babe Tanetta was torn from her arms and swept away, as were all of the other girls in the whirlpool created by the sinking ship. The accounts differ, but all 4 girls perished, either by drowning or succumbed to the icy waters of the North Atlantic. Anna, by some miracle, was found floating on a piece of planking, and she was rescued. She was only semi-conscious, mostly unconscious when they found her. When they pulled her ashore and pulled her onto the ship and discovered that her daughters were gone. In her anguish, she wanted to throw herself overboard. she would later say that she heard a still small voice speaking to her. You were saved for a purpose. She records also that in those moments she said, God gave me 4 daughters. Now they have been taken from me. Someday I will understand why. With the rescue ship, she was taken to Cardiff, South Wales, where she sent a telegram to her husband back in Chicago, and it read simply, saved, alone. What shall I do? Horatio immediately boarded another ship and set out to join Anna in Wales. As they sailed across the North Atlantic, it is reported that on one specific day, the captain of the vessel that Horatio was on called him to the bridge, pointed to his navigation chart, and informed Horatio that they were passing over the exact spot where the Ville du Havre went down. It is reported that Spafford returned to his cabin, and with emotions we can only imagine, he wrote these words: When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to know, it is well with my soul. It would become the beloved Christian hymn, It is Well with My Soul. A few days later, Spafford's faith would shine through again, as he wrote in a letter to his sister-in-law. On Thursday last, we passed over the spot where she went down in mid-ocean. The waters, he said, 3 miles deep. But I do not think of our dear ones there. They are safe, dear lambs. End of quote. Well, in the days ahead, the Spaffords returned to Chicago. In the years ahead, 3 more children were born to them. But like Job, the trials of the Spaffords were not over. No, their son, born after they'd returned to Chicago, again named Horatio Jr., just like the other son that had died at the age of 4. It is said that the people of their congregation, and I won't name the congregation, the people of their congregation began to gossip. Rumors began to circulate that God must surely have cursed the Spaffords for all of the misfortune that has been theirs. I can't imagine such cruel talk. Well, the Spaffords made a decision. Horatio and Anna Spafford left Chicago and their church and became independent, free-thinking Christians. They immigrated to Jerusalem, where they established the famous American colony. There, Horatio and Anna lived out their days, practicing the full measure of Christianity as they understood it. With the colony and the hospitals and the nurses and the feeding and the farming and all that they did, all were loved. All were served. All were welcomed and ministered to. Jew, Gentile, Arab, foreigner, local. Everyone was welcomed, served, fed, and loved. Anna and Horatio Spafford gave all they had in a land of enemies and allies and took no sides in doing it. Today, Anna and Horatio Spafford are buried in Jerusalem, awaiting the day of the Lord's second coming that they so anxiously anticipated, when the Lord would return and call them up. Indeed, it is well with their souls. And I close with this question. Is it well with yours?